In this rather short video, I'm going to show you a mistake that I keep seeing in Compose code bases where I have access to, and the solution to the mistake is so simple, it's unbelievable. Let me show you. Here I have this aligning composable that inside has a container that takes in the modifier that is being passed down, and inside I have a column that contains two buttons. The problem we are trying to solve here is I want this skip button to be as wide as the button below, or with other words, I want both of them to be equally wide. And then on this right side here, they are gonna be aligned equally. So how do I do that? If I apply modifier to these buttons to fill the max width, they're gonna make its parent, in this case the column, expand across the entire available width. Now that I have applied fill max width, it makes the column, which is the parent of these two buttons, expand across the entire available width, which in this case is the width of the container that takes in the modifier. And if I see in the preview, it is fill max width. So the entire width will be filled in. Clearly, this isn't a solution we are looking for. The mistake that I keep seeing over and over again is adding additional composable on the right side of the column that will take specific width by applying the weight modifier. In this case, I've applied a spacer composable that applies weight modifier of 1.5. And then here in the column, we are going to apply additional modifier with weight less than 1.5 to make it shrink. Now this seems like working, but this is far from being the best possible solution. And that's because if I keep adding text here, it's gonna make the button grow in height instead of expanding its width. So even if it feels like this works, if I start adding additional texts in the buttons, imagine different translations, quickly this is gonna start becoming a problem. Now the way the measurements are working in Compose is it will measure first the children size and it's gonna propagate that size to the parent above. And that's by default. So in this case, this text takes specific size and it's propagated to the button adds additional paddings or whatever, and that is propagated to the column. Meaning that the column knows, or it must know, what's gonna be the available width or the width that it takes. So how we can leverage that? Well, the way to leverage that is here on the modifier, instead of weight, we can supply width. And here, instead of specific dimension, we can use this intrinsic size. Here we can say intrinsic size. And the two options that we have here are max or min. Max means it's gonna take the size of the largest element, and min on the flip side is gonna take the size of the smallest element. So in this case, I'm gonna select max, and then I can just delete this spacer here, and it will work properly. Now, if I keep adding text here, it's gonna expand the button accordingly, and it will make the other button also expand because both of them are having fill max width. However, the width of the column is gonna be as wide as the largest children. If I set this back to min, now it's gonna take the size of the smallest children and it's gonna shrink all others accordingly. And as you can imagine, this works both for rows, for columns, vertical, horizontal. So whenever you're working on such a problem, please use this approach rather than some hacky way that will be hard to follow and understand, wouldn't work, and it's gonna be a nightmare to maintain.